It is 1998. If you are too young to remember this time, you have to understand one thing. The internet wasn't a utility, it was a destination. It was slow, it was loud, and it was incredibly difficult to navigate. There was no feed, there was no algorithm. To find anything, you didn't search, you browsed. You clicked through human-made directories. Business, markets, technology, computers. It was like looking up a phone number in a physical book the size of a skyscraper. And the librarian of this chaotic library, the king of the dot-com world, was Yahoo. Yahoo wasn't just a website. In 1998, Yahoo was the internet. They were the portal. They were the front door. Their headquarters in Santa Clara was a playground for the new rich. The stock price was vertical. They were painting the town purple. Their founders, Jerry Yang and David Filo, were the rock stars of the new economy. They believed that the internet was a media business, like a newspaper or a TV station. They hired hundreds of actual humans to surf the web and categorize websites into lists. They believed that humans would always curate the web. But 30 minutes down the road, in a dorm room at Stanford University, two PhD students were proving them wrong. Larry Page and Sergey Brin were not rock stars. They were academics. They were socially awkward math nerds. Their dorm room looked like a fire hazard. There were cables snaking across the floor. The air hummed with the heat of processors. And because they were broke students who couldn't afford proper server cases, they had built a custom housing for their 10 4-gigabyte hard drives using the only material they had lying around: Lego bricks. Blue, yellow, red, and green bricks holding together the future of human knowledge. They had built a search algorithm called backrub. It was brilliant. Every other search engine at the time looked at the words on a page. If you searched for cars, it looked for the page that said cars the most times. Larry and Sergey's code was different. It counted how many other pages linked to a site. It treated the internet like a popularity contest. It was precise, it was ruthless, and it was fast. But here's the twist. They didn't want it. Larry and Sergey didn't want to run a company. They wanted to finish their PhDs. They wanted to become professors. Backrub was a nuisance. It was eating up all of Stanford's bandwidth. The IT department was threatening to kick them off the network. It was a distraction from their real work. So they made a rational decision. They would sell the technology to someone who cared, pocket some cash to pay off their student loans, and get back to studying. They put on their best wrinkled shirts, they drove to Santa Clara, and they set up a meeting with the king. The meeting takes place in Yahoo's executive offices. The contrast is painful. On one side, you have the Yahoo team, confident, wealthy, riding the biggest wave in history. On the other side, two students who smell like soldering ringer and anxiety. Larry and Sergey make the pitch. This is the PageRank system, they explain. It finds exactly what the user is looking for, instantly. It is mathematically superior to your human directories. Then they name their price. $1 million. $1 million for the source code that will eventually become Google, for the algorithm that will map the physical world, index every book ever written, and answer every question ever asked. They are offering it for the price of a modest house in the Bay Area. David Filo, one of Yahoo's founders, actually liked the guys. He respected the math. He saw that the tech worked. But he looked at them and shook his head. No. Why? They didn't say no because the price was too high. Yahoo had money to burn. They didn't say no because the tech was bad. They said no because of a philosophy. A philosophy that sounds insane today, but was the gospel in 1998. Stickiness. One executive explained the problem to Page and Brin. Your search engine is too good. If a user comes to Yahoo and types in cancer treatment, your engine finds the answer instantly. And then what happens? The user clicks the link and they leave Yahoo. Do you see the logic? Yahoo was an ad-supported business. They got paid for every minute you stared at their page. They didn't want to send you to the answer. They wanted you to keep browsing. They wanted you to check your email, read the horoscope, play a game, and look at the stock ticker.
To Yahoo, a confused user was a profitable user. A user who found what they wanted was a lost customer. They told the future trillionaires, search is just a commodity. It's a utility. It's a feature, not a business. Philo told them, go build the company yourselves. When it grows up, come back and see us. Dejected, Larry and Sergey walked out of the office. They couldn't sell the thing. So, forced by rejection, they went to a garage in Menlo Park. They incorporated. They changed the name from Backrub to Google. And they leaned into the very thing Yahoo hated. While Yahoo's homepage became a crowded Times Square billboard, flashing lights, news tickers, clutter, Google launched a page that was white. Just the logo and the box. They made a bet that Yahoo couldn't understand. If you let people leave, they will come back. Yahoo ignored the data because they were in love with their model. Don't fall in love with a failing strategy. Now back to the decline. Fast forward just 4 years. 2002. The dot-com bubble has burst. The portals are dying, but Google is growing like a weed. Yahoo realizes they made a mistake. They call Google back. This time, the price isn't $1 million. Google asks for $5 billion. The CEO of Yahoo is now Terry Semel. He's an old-school Hollywood guy from Warner Bros. He doesn't understand code, he understands movies. He looks at Google and sees a one-trick pony. He negotiates, he haggles. He offers $3 billion. Google holds firm at $5 billion. Terry Semel thinks no one is worth that much money. He refuses to bridge the gap. The deal falls apart over $2 billion. Now, you might think, well, $2 billion is a lot of money. But let me give you some context on how Yahoo spent its cash. 3 years earlier, in 1999, Yahoo spent $5.7 billion to buy a company called Broadcast.com. It was an internet radio service founded by Mark Cuban. It had barely any revenue, it had no proprietary tech. They bought it, and within a few years, they shut it down. They lit $5.7 billion on fire for a radio station that didn't work, but they wouldn't pay $5 billion for Google. They walked the lay again. They decided to buy a cheaper search engine called Inktomi and try to build their own Google. They failed. The years passed. The walled garden crumbled. Users didn't want to be trapped. They wanted speed. Yahoo became a ghost town, a relic, a place where your grandparents have an email address they never check. But the red ink wasn't done flowing. In 2008, Microsoft saw that Yahoo was bleeding and offered to buy them. Steve Ballmer offered $44.6 billion. And Yahoo said no. Jerry Yang, the founder, refused to sell. He believed the company was worth more. He fought off the acquisition. He thought he could turn it around. So let's recap the scorecard of Yahoo's leadership. Refused to buy Google for $1 billion, refused to buy Google for $5 billion, refused to buy Facebook for $1 billion, yes, that happened too, refused to sell themselves for $45 billion. It is a masterclass in getting it wrong every single time. In 2017, the end finally came. Yahoo, the company that once ruled the world, the company that was the internet, was sold to Verizon. They sold for $4.48 billion. That is roughly 10% of what Microsoft offered them, and it is a rounding error compared to Google. Today, Alphabet, Google's parent company, is worth over $2 trillion. They didn't just build a search engine, they built the operating system of the planet. Android, Maps, YouTube, Gmail, the cloud. Let's look at the map of that first meeting one last time. $1 million. If Yahoo had spent that money in 1998, it would have been the greatest investment in the history of capitalism. Instead, they saved the $1 million to protect a business model that was designed to annoy their own customers. They fell into the classic trap of the incumbent, protectionism. They tried to protect their views instead of improving the user's life. Yahoo tried to be a jailer. Google offered a key. And the world always chooses the key. The next time you see that simple, multicolored G on your screen, remember the 2 PhD students who just wanted to get back to their homework. Remember the Lego bricks. And remember the executives in the nice suits who thought they were too smart to fix their own product. This is Red Ink History. Subscribe, because the line between an empire and a memory is thinner than you think.